This video is brought to you by my two books, Practical Music Theory for the Rock Guitarist and The Blues Guitar Bible. Want to learn about modes, harmony, scales, chord substitution and keys? Or maybe you're interested in supercharging your blues guitar rhythm and lead chops. Whatever you're interested in, I guarantee you will be hitting the fast lane to progress with either of these works. Both feature video demonstrations and tutorials, loads of tabs and jam tracks to play along with, and I promise you, everything is explained in crystal clear plain English. Check out the links in the description for more details. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Today being Tuesday, we're doing a top 5 video, and you've already seen the thumbnail and the title of the video. So I won't blether on too much about what we're talking about today. Suffice to say, this is a very special edition of the show for me because I'm talking about a band that pretty much turned me on to the sound of the electric guitar. I'm of course talking about The Shadows, and these are my 5 favourite Shadows tunes, starting with
Apache.
Yeah, and I've told the story of this one many times on the channel. Basically, when I was a toddler, we had a freak weather event in this part of the world, and the TV went off, and I was being babysat by my grandmother, and the only thing that she could do, because thunder, lightning, horrible, nasty, ridiculously dark day in the middle of summer, and it just kind of went like that all of a sudden. The only thing that me granny could find to kind of keep me amused when I was freaking out over the thunder and lightning and sounded like the very heavens were descending on us was the old shortwave radio where she managed to find, I don't know, Radio Luxembourg or something. And, The Shadows were on, playing Apache. And this just, it was like, up until that moment in my life, music had been the wheels on the bus go round and round, or 10 green bottles hanging on a wall or something. I didn't know music could make you feel like this. Okay, and that was just a big moment for me. I was preschool. I think I was probably about 2 years old, and I don't know how much of it I clearly remember or how much of it is the story that was told to me subsequently over the years by me parents and me grandma, but the memory feels real, and it's certainly what ignited my love of not just the Shadows but the sound of the electric guitar in general. So that one definitely had to be on the list. Next,
Riders in the Sky.
Yes, Hank and the boys had a little bit of a resurgence in their career in the late 70s and early 80s. And I certainly recall this. It's a weird mashup when you listen to it now, because back in, I think it was 1979, I've been doing some research for this, and some sources say that it was released in 79, some say it was 1980, but let's say it's 79. I'll have been 12 years old, and just all music kind of had this, a lot of chart music then, had the same sort of production values, that sort of back end of the 70s disco production. But when you hear it now, you're hearing Hank's kind of incredibly twangy guitar sound. Well, what Hank Marvin sounds like, but it's just, I think this track has got one of his better guitar tones that he ever had. You're hearing that fantastic Shadows guitar tone essentially over, a disco beat. And it just seems such an odd mismatch when you listen to it now. But, complete with, the Simmons kind of drum synth. Is it Simmons kit? But, the drum synthesizer that was on every record back then. The one that went, boo, like that. Big drum solo with that in it. It's nostalgia value for me, this. I remember at the time thinking, this is that band I've heard but never really seen much of. And just the striking image of Hank with the glasses doing the kind of walk. I seem to remember on Top of the Pops he was playing a black Strat for this. In fact, I know he was because I've just watched the clip. All of these are linked down below in the description, by the way. And that one just, it was just... the Shadows, the band that I'd kind of loved since I was a toddler. You know, suddenly, you know, they're on top of the pops, and they're a real thing. So yeah, that one had to be on the list. Next,
Atlantis.
Atlantis, yes, released in 1963. Much like Apache, it was written by I think Jerry Lorden, and I had that album that you know, every Shadows fan had, with the you know, the kind of shadows of the three guitars kind of going up the wall, you know, that 20 Golden Greats album. And pretty much, apart from Riders in the Sky, all of the tracks I'm talking about here came from that album. It's often said that this track, Atlantis, was played on Hank Burns' Marvin model, but a little bit of research that I've done makes me believe it was one of the last things he played on his Strat. He played the Strat right up until 1964, when he switched to Burns guitars and stayed with them till 1970. And this track came out in 63, so it seems quite likely that unless he was playing it on a very early prototype of his Burns guitar, that this was still being played on a Strat. Why do all of it? I don't know. You can't really rationalise these things. Music, you know, kind of touches you in such a way that you can't really explain why you like something. You know, you just know that you do. It's like trying to explain, you know, why you're in love with your wife. You know, it's not something that you can map out in logical terms. But I love this track. It's just that the whole deal, the melody, the female backing vocals on it, everything, just fantastic. That had to be on the list. Next,
Wonderful Land.
Another one written by Jerry Lorden. Released in 62, so very definitely recorded on that famous Fiesta Red Strat. Actually, it was interestingly covered in 1980 by Mike Oldfield, this one. Interesting thing about this track, it was the final outing for Tony Meehan on drums. He was, well, depends who you ask and who you listen to. He was either fired or left after the release of after the recording rather of this tune, and then Brian Bennett came in, and he's been, you know, sort of the main guy ever since, when they've kind of got back together and had you know, reunions and split up and but it's always been Brian Bennett, I believe. Released in 1962, and just one of their iconic tunes. Again, difficult to pin down why it is that you love this piece of music more than another one, but it's one of the ones that I absolutely adore. I'll never tire of hearing it. Absolutely stunning. Next,
Theme for Young Lovers.
Yeah, now so far a lot of the tunes we've been talking about have been written by Jerry Lorden. I think Apache, Jerry Lorden. That one was originally recorded by Bert Whedon, by the way, who Jerry Lorden didn't like his version of it, thought it was a bit too kind of, I don't know, cheesy or jaunty or something, and then he gave it to the Shadows, and he loved their version of it. But anyway, Jerry Lorden wrote Apache. I believe he also wrote Atlantis. Yes, I've got it written down here. Wrote Atlantis. He also wrote Wonderful Land. This one I thought was in the same vein. I thought this was also a Jerry Lorden composition, but it isn't. This one was written by Bruce Welch, nonetheless. You know, the famous rhythm guitarist, the other half of the, almost like when you think of Status Quo, you think of Francis Rossi and Rick Parfitt. The Shadows, you always think of Hank and Bruce, don't you? I do anyway. Released in 64, so a good chance that this one was actually played on a Burns guitar. It comes from the Cliff Richard film Wonderful Life, not It's a Wonderful Life, the different film. This is from a film called Wonderful Life. It wasn't as successful as you know, the others. I mean, I think Apache spent 5 weeks at number 1. Atlantis hit the number 2 spot. Wonderful Land made it to the top of the charts. This one only made it as far as number 12 in the hit parade, as it was called then. But I think that's perhaps why it's not as well known a tune as some of the rest of them. But it just, again, that famous best of album, 20 Golden Greats. I believe this was about halfway down on side 2, and just again, try to explain, try to put into words why you love a piece of music. I can't. I just know that I do, and this one is definitely one of my favourites. So there you go. Those are my 5 picks for my 5 favourite Shadows tunes. If you are of a similar vintage to me, then you probably have a similar list, relating to this band. Let me know what your 5 picks are down in the description. Be interested to know what that is, or what they are rather. But that's pretty much it for today, folks. Hope you've enjoyed the video and found it entertaining and informative, perhaps, in some small way. And if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not drop me a like as well while you're at it. And of course, don't forget the live stream every Friday, 5 PM UK time, where we drink beer and talk about stuff. Music, guitars, Shadows tunes, perhaps. It's a great way to kick off the weekend, and I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.